Back when Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were a thing, they started a fad with hair. And my son, my oldest, went through this fad where you put on like a cap with the little holes in it,
yes,
and then bleach the tips,
right.
And so it was spiky hair, and the tips were bleached. Sometimes the hair went down. It was this thing, right?
Yeah, it was.
And we did the
trend.
homemade stuff. I mean, we just took the shower cap with holes in it and poked the hair through the holes and stuff.
So painful.
So somebody else did this just recently, and they thought, okay, let's do this. We don't have the shower cap thing with the holes in it. Let's use a Home Depot bag.
Well, I see. I mean, you've got to cover it so it doesn't drip all over your clothes and the stuff.
So they did that, and then all of a sudden something happened to the top of the hair because Home Depot has writing on the bag, right?
Yeah.
Listen to this, because this was so hilarious. They got out the phone, and then they had to shoot video of this thing.
Welcome to Home Depot. Look at the light. Come here. Get in the light.
So they show the top of this kid's head, and wow, did they really bleach the hair? And on the top of his head is the imprint of the bag. Welcome to Home Depot.
Welcome to
A
Home
couple
Depot.
of lines of it.
It's backward, and it's hilarious because his hair is golden, but Welcome to Home Depot was in orange.
The Home Depot brand colors, right?
Yes.
Wow.
He will never live this down.
Never.
I tried to go blonde. I'm a brunette, and I tried to go blonde.
I can't picture Liz as a blonde, but go ahead.
Always wanted to be a blonde. And I did, like, the home thing.
Yeah,
and I went to pick my daughter up at kindergarten. She didn't come to the car because she didn't think it was me.
Wow.
And the teacher's like, no, that's your mom. And she's like, that's not my
not
mommy.
my mom.
That's not my mommy.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Okay, Mary, what happened to your hair?
I was in 7th grade, and my friends and I were experimenting with our hair. I went to a Catholic school. We were not really allowed to dye our hair certain colors. I came to school, and I was supposed to compete in the spelling bee for the state. Well, I was disqualified by my math teacher. She said, well, Mary, I'm glad you dyed your hair orange. Now you can't compete in the spelling bee. They had someone else compete, and she could not spell outrageous, which I could have done. But that's something I'm always going to remember.
You can redeem yourself right now. Spell outrageous.
OUTRAGEOUS.
You got
Outrageous.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Preston and Tanisha, they set their wedding date. I mean, he knew the putter was going on in the heart, and it was just like fluttering, and it was love at first sight. When he got on bended knee that one day, Tanisha said yes immediately. Oh, my word. So they set the date. It's for this year. It was in July, but at the end of June, something horrific happened to Preston at work. He works at a chemical plant, and the chemicals around him, something happened, and he was extremely burned.
Oh, no.
In the burn unit, and 3 weeks later, like this past Saturday, was the date for the dream wedding of their lives.
Oh, my goodness. They were crushed.
I know, right? But he's got to get better, and he's got all these burns all over his body. And so here's what the nursing staff did. They said, listen, you're going to have your wedding. And they spent their own money with potluck and flowers and photographer. The nursing staff said, you're going to have your wedding, and they had it at the hospital.
Oh, my goodness. And she had her dress and everything. Oh.
Yeah, and here's the cool thing. He couldn't put on a tuxedo, so they were able to get a shirt on him that had the tuxedo on it.
Oh, that's so
One of those
cool.
tuxedo shirts.
Yes.
It looks great. He's got the biggest smile, and I know he's going through so much pain because when you get a burn, you know what a sunburn is like, or any kind of a burn. I mean, and then that's just really painful.
And if he's in the hospital, that's
Yeah.
like 3rd-degree burns.
So he is a dad, and he's got, he's raising kids. And so there's a whole GoFundMe page that somebody started for them and
I'm glad.
everything because, the medical expenses.
Oh, they're going to be astronomical. And
Yeah.
especially, trying to start a family with his now wife. Wow.
Yeah, but what this hospital did for this couple is just so great.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
I don't know if you saw what the top number 3 movie over the weekend was, but absolutely amazing. So you've got this term. It's Barbie. How do you say it? It's the two.
Barbenheimer?
Yeah, because it's the 2 movies that are out
Yeah.
that are really big, that are mashed in one. People are going to see the Barbie one and then the Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer,
in the
yeah.
same day.
Yeah. Woo.
That's a long day.
That was a long
I'm
day.
sorry. But the number 3 movie in the box office over the weekend, and you may have heard of this, is The Sound of Freedom that Jim Caviezel is in. Now, it's not something that the little kids can watch
No.
because it has to do with a really it has to do with
Horrific
a
thing.
theme that you already know about. And because you have kids in the car, I'm going to speak a little vague, but you understand what it is. And that's in Colombia. But, oh, my word. This movie is just so impacting for so many people. Jim Caviezel and faith-based. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so Jim Caviezel, maybe you don't know, he is the guy who played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ back in the day. And so he is part of this movie. And I have a hard time, I'll tell you, I have a hard time watching even the trailers. The subject matter, I have not been able to see it. I feel like it's going to have to be a movie that I'm going to see at home, but that's just me. But I'm hearing so many of my friends have gone to see this movie and they say, look, it's hard to watch, but it is so important for us to watch to know what's happening. This is real stuff and it's happening every day.
And Angel Studios put it together. So if you know the series The Chosen, these are the people that are behind Sound of Freedom. And very worthwhile to go and see.
And when it opened, it only opened in a limited amount of theaters. And, they were like, oh, well, we don't know how long it's actually going to be in theaters. But it was beating out like Mission Impossible. There were more people seeing Sound of Freedom than Mission Impossible. So that tells you something. Now it's word of mouth and more people are going.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Jessica checked her mailbox, and there was a postcard in it.
Oh, fun.
Looks at it, and she reads it and goes, Dear folks, by the time you get this, I would have been long since home, but it seems proper to send this from the Tour Eiffel, where I am right now. Don't have a chance to see much, but having fun. She's like, I don't know this guy, Roy.
Roy?
Roy, yeah. I mean, Jessica doesn't know Roy. She's been in this house for 17 years, and she's thinking, it's got to be, one of my neighbors. But sure enough, it was her address, but it was to like a Renee. Yeah.
So they got the wrong person.
Yeah. And it turns out there was a stamp on it, but it was from like July 12th of this year. And then she looked a little bit closer and saw, there's another postmark on it. March 15th, 1969.
Oh, it's been out there a hot minute.
Yes. Took a while to get from Paris to Maine.
The letter carrier's like, I can't figure this out. Where does this go?
Yeah. Well, no, he got it right there. Right to the address was clear.
Well, I'm saying after how many years? 50 some odd years?
Uh-huh. Almost.
That's wild.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow. Like, I get upset if I'm expecting a package or a letter, and I'm like, it was supposed to be here today. Well, you got to give it that's, So, Roy, no one knows where Roy is.
Yeah. Poor Roy.
Poor Roy.
But he, have some fun.
He did go to Paris.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Ooh, let me tell you, I got in the car yesterday afternoon to go home, and I'm like, it is blazing hot in here. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio. I don't know if you saw what they did in Texas with the National Weather Service. They were demonstrating how hot it is in the car that they would bake a sheet of cookies in it. And by golly, they did. 194 degrees inside the car in Texas. And that took 4.5 hours for the cookies to bake. And they did. They weren't golden brown, but they were edible and tasted great.
Yeah, well, there was no burner on top of it. But normally you would bake cookies at like 325, 350 in your oven at home. But 194 degrees, they were baked through, and probably what seemingly a lot of people like them. A little gooey inside, but 194 degrees inside the car.
Yeah. And so the point was made. Hey, It's hot enough to bake cookies in here. Please make sure the dogs and kids are not sitting in the car.
Oh, absolutely. When you get in, this is thigh burning weather right here. Where you get in the car,
Thigh burning. Oh, especially when you sit down on the leather seats
and you're like,
with shorts on.
woo!
That's horrible. I'm glad, I don't know if you do this during the winter, but I do. I will warm up my car during the winter. Now it's like cool down the car during the summer.
Oh, yeah. See, I can't do it. I park in the garage because I'm the only girl in the house right now. And so they let me park in the garage. So I can't really warm up the car unless I raise the garage.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
Eric is along with us this morning at 800-447-7234. What's up, Eric?
He was talking about the temperatures inside of a car. We have a grandson that has no concept of temperature. Like if we're out during the summertime, if we're out doing something, he'll go and sit in the car with a blanket on, with the windows up. And we've had to tell him several times, you can't just get in this car during the summertime.
But he literally can't feel the difference in the temperatures.
No,
What's that condition even called?
I don't know. I have no clue. But it gets really, really scary.
It does, doesn't it? Especially if he just goes in there and you don't see him and it's like 100 out and 194 inside the car.
Yeah, because it doesn't change the fact that it is 197 in the car. It's just he can't tell the difference.
Well, good thing is, Eric, you guys know. So I have a feeling when you're out and about, you're checking the car constantly.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
This lady reacted quickly, was very observant, and wow. It's Rob and Liz in the morning. This is his radio.
Yeah, Sherelle's at work. She works overnight. She works in a parking garage in Savannah, right there on Whitaker Street. And first of all, what struck me is she's working overnight at a park. I don't
In
see
the middle of the night.
I don't
yeah.
see parking attendants when I go into parking garages. Not that I'm out much overnight, but I don't even see them through the day. So anyway, she's working, and all of a sudden she sees this guy trying to get into a window in the employee only office. And I mean, he tries it, he gets in, and she had to fight him off.
Well, she first started pushing him out the window.
True, trying to
she
keep him
saw
out.
him quickly. It's like, no, you ain't coming in here. But he did finally get in, and then she very calmly picked up her stuff and walked out immediately and then told people, hey, somebody just got in here. They called the authorities, and he was taken care of quickly.
Yeah, but now she's like, look, we need some more security for us. Even though, she is an overnight attendant and there to help with security to see if something's going on, she can call it in. But now it's starting to, the focus is now turning on them to keep her safe while she's at work.
And how brave she was.
Right.
Because I look at this footage, because they have the security footage. She's literally, while the guy's starting to come in the window, she runs over there to push him back out.
Yeah.
She's got her head on her hand and hand on her head, the guy's head and shoulder, and trying to push him back out. Pretty successful for a little bit, but he did force himself in.
Right. And, I'm thankful that he didn't have, at least that we know of, really a weapon that he used on her, because that could have gone differently.
Well, he looked like he was visiting in a few places, and after call happened, he's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I got to find something to do.
He's a little stumbling and bumbling there.